Those at the post are happy because they believe that you are dead. You will not be happy until they are dead. And Mélisse, how will all this bring happiness to her? I tell you that I am as deep in trouble as you, M'sieur Howland. May the Virgin strike me dead if I'm not!" He drank, his eyes darkening gloomily. In that moment there flashed into Howland's mind a memory of the battle that Jean had fought for him on the Great North Trail. "You nearly killed one of 'em that night at Prince Albert," he said slowly. "I can't understand why you fought for me then and won't help me now. But you did. And you're afraid to go down there " "Until I have regrown a beard," interrupted Jean, with a low chuckling laugh. "You would not be the only one to die if they saw me again like this. But that is enough, M'sieur. I will say no more." "I really don't want to make you uncomfortable, Jean," Howland apologized, as he secured the Frenchman's hands again after they had satisfied their hearty appetites. "But unless you swear by your Virgin or something else that you will make no attempt to call assistance, I shall have to gag you. What do you say?" "I will make no outcry, M'sieur. I give you my word for that." With another length of babiche Howland tied his companion's legs. "I'm going to investigate a little," he explained. "I am not afraid of your voice, for if you begin to shout I will hear you first. But with your legs free you might take it into your head to run away." "Would you mind spreading a blanket on the floor, M'sieur? If you are gone long this box will grow hard and sharp." A few minutes later, after he had made his prisoner as comfortable as possible in the cabin, Howland went again through the fringe of scrub bush to the edge of the ridge. Below him the plain was lost in the gloom of night. He could see nothing of the buildings at the post but 2 or 3 lights gleaming faintly through the darkness. Overhead there were no stars. Thickening snow shut out what illumination there might have been in the north, and even as he stood looking into the desolation to the west the snow fell faster and the lights grew fainter and fainter until all was a chaos of blackness. In these moments a desire that was almost madness swept over him. Since his fight with Jean the swift passing of events had confined his thoughts to their one objective, the finding of Mélisse and her people. He had assured himself that his every move was to be a cool and calculating one, that nothing, not even his great love, should urge him beyond that reason which had made him a master builder among men. As he stood with the snow falling heavily on him, he knew that his trail would be covered before another day, that for an indefinite period he might safely wait and watch for Mélisse on the mountain top. And yet, slowly, he made his way down the side of the ridge. A little way out there in the gloom, barely beyond the call of his voice, was the girl for whom he was willing to sacrifice all that he had ever achieved in life. With each step the desire in him grew, the impulse to bring himself nearer to her, to steal across the plain, to approach in the silent smother of the storm until he could look on the light which Jean Croisset had told him would gleam from her window. He descended to the foot of the ridge and headed into the plain, taking the caution to bury his feet deep in the snow that he might have a trail to guide him back to the cabin. At first he found himself impeded by low bush. Then the plain became more open, and he knew that there was nothing but the night and the snow to shut out his vision ahead. Still he had no motive, no reason for what he did. The snow would cover his tracks before morning. There would be no harm done, and he might get a glimpse of the light, of her light. It came on his vision with a suddenness that set his heart leaping. A dog barked ahead of him, so near that he stopped in his tracks, and then suddenly there shot through the snow gloom the bright gleam of a lamp. Before he had taken another breath he was aware of what had happened. A curtain had been drawn aside in the chaos ahead. He was almost on the walls of the post, and the light gleamed from high, up, from the head of the stair. For a space he stood still, listening and watching. There was no other light, no other sound after the barking of the dog. About him the snow fell with fluttering noiselessness, and it filled him with a sensation of safety. The sharpest eyes could not see him, the keenest ears could not hear him. And he advanced again until before him there rose out of the gloom a huge, shadowy mass that was blacker than the night itself. The one lighted window was plainly visible now, its curtain 2/3 drawn, and as he looked a shadow passed over it. Was it a woman's shadow? The window darkened as the figure within came nearer to it, and Howland stood with clenched hands and wildly beating heart, almost ready to call out softly a name. A little nearer, one more step, and he would know. He might throw a chunk of snow crust, a cartridge from his belt, and then the shadow disappeared. Dimly Howland made out the snow-covered stair, and he went to it and looked up. 10 feet above him the light shone out. He looked into the gloom behind him, into the gloom out of which he had come. Nothing. Nothing but the storm. Swiftly he mounted the stair. End of chapter 14. Recording by Roger Moline.